those paper-filed documents for the 15 years preceding the time between when Edgar went up and when we started requiring XBRL. So we're at the early stages of that, but the hope is that we're going to be able to assemble a fairly long time series of what's been filed, and we'll then be able to use that in our monitoring and risk analysis, try to look for patterns that had subsequent implications that we'd like to avoid. We're also going to be publishing this loan level data in ABS, and that'll start next year. And the ABS, of course, caused a lot of trouble during the crisis, and it was surprising to me with hindsight how many people with fiduciary obligations apparently bought securities where they didn't have any idea what was going on underneath the securities. They didn't know what the loan pool was like underlying those securities. And I've talked to practitioners who said, well, if you wanted to know what the loan types were, you could get them, but by the time you got the information, the securities would all be sold out and you wouldn't have any. You wouldn't have a chance to buy any. So the new regulations are looking to head that off and prevent it from happening in the future. The other thing related to ABS is a research project. It's not in connection with a particular rule, but a couple of the dear economists are looking at the management discussion section of ABS prospectuses over the past 20 years. And what they're doing is using text analytics to try to discover patterns of words, patterns of phrases, patterns of ideas that correlate with either good or bad subsequent performance in a particular pool of loans. Now, it's early days, we don't know where it's going, but certainly if they could identify such patterns, it would be very helpful in evaluating the riskiness of various securities going forward. And then finally, something that's a part of this QRADS program is it's got another acronym because we are a government agency. It's got an acronym CIRA, C-I-R-A, which is the Corporate Issuer Risk Assessment Program. So think about the Division of Corporation Finance. They're flooded with documents that come in, XBRL or otherwise. They're flooded with documents, and the question is, how can they organize all that information and make comparisons across firms? And so what CIRA does is it looks at all of the traded firms in the US, and it will allow you to construct indicators of risk. We've suggested some, but it'll allow you to construct other indicators of risk or other indicators of anomaly. And so CIRA is a dashboard, takes what you want to know, goes into the data set, and pulls up comparisons across firms. So if you want to say in the computer industry, which firms have the biggest run-up of unsold inventory? Well, you can find that out. You can say which firms have been doing the most with accruals, because accruals are sometimes used as a way to smooth earnings and to disguise potential problems on the operating side of the firm. So you can look at accruals. And that was, in fact, the genesis of this CIRA program, and we've expanded it beyond just accruals. So CIRA is this dashboard that is used all across the Commission. There's a fraud task force in the Commission that is a very heavy user of the CIRA dashboard, and we're starting to roll it out into the Enforcement Division as well. So it's a mechanism for providing to not data-savvy people access to information that helps them do their job better. So all of these things are going on. There are more, but time is short, I hope. I hope it's short. Whatever comes next, I hope and expect that DEER will be a big part of it. We'll be providing the analysis underlying the information and the processing of the information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. So, Mark, we have one question.
Okay.
One submitted question.
One submitted question.
So since 2009, the SEC has been collecting corporate financial statements and notes as open searchable data, but more recently it has adopted structured formats for other disclosures as well, noticeably asset-backed securities. Do you see opportunities for analytics to uncover insights by combining information from different types of structured data filings?
Yes, indeed. Okay, so you think about, is it a camel? I think it's a camel that is a horse designed by a committee. And I frequently think about that analogy when I'm thinking about data sets, because many times you can't get from a particular data set everything you'd like to know. You need some sort of comparison with another data set, with another source of information. So one of the things that QRADS is working on is a mechanism for combining different data sets and making it sort of transparent which data set your information is coming from. So you can ask for information that is somewhere in this mass of data, and it'll be lined up by firm or by registrant or by investment advisor or whatever. And so we're putting a lot of effort into that. In principle, it's a pretty simple idea. In fact, it turns out to be, as you probably know better than I, really messy. And we're working very hard on trying to make it less messy, put the mess underneath a dashboard that'll be available to people who are not technically savvy. So yeah, I think combining data from both our registrant sources and from public sources like stock prices, like CDS data, could be very important, and we're aiming to get those combinations made.
Thank you. It's great to see the SEC using technology such as text patterns to increase the public trust. So we want to thank you for your insight today. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
The President's announcement of Tony Scott as the United States Chief Information Officer is an important opportunity for our nation. With the radical evolution of information technology, the federal government has an unprecedented opportunity to enhance how we deliver the services to the American people and spark greater innovation in the digital revolution. Tony brings over 35 years of global leadership and management experience to build on the progress and drive continued success. This is Tony's first talk in his new role, so we're very pleased to have him at our summit today. Please join me in welcoming our United States Chief Information Officer, Tony Scott.
Appreciate it. Actually, I have to correct the record. This is actually my second. The other was a little bit earlier this morning, so, but I guess it all counts. If it's in the same day, we'll call it the first day of getting out and getting around. And thanks for the warm reception. It's my pleasure actually to act in this role. You know, as I learned about the opportunity and thought about what could be done with the federal government and information that the federal government has, I think you'd argue there's just no more exciting opportunity on the planet in some sense. So, you know, I'll come back and talk to you in a couple of years and we'll see where we got to. I guess that's the proof at the end of the day. So I work in the Office of Management and Budget, and so there's no discussion that can take place without talking about all the different initiatives that we have going on. And so I thought I would mention a few of them this morning, and I'll try to go through the slides that I have pretty quickly, and then we can get to some hopefully good conversation. So let me get back to the beginning here. All right. So I think, as many of you know, there's a set of open government initiatives in the federal government that are, I think, powerful examples of what can be done with the right policies and the right practice in place. And we have a few of them listed here that I think are the beginnings of what can be a big impact in this particular space. Now, one of the problems, obviously, that we have is you can have all the policies in the world and you can have all of the regulation in the world, but if the data is trapped in old systems that are hard to get to, that aren't presented in the right way or made available in the right way, it's not very useful. So I'm very big on the practicality side of things. I told the story earlier this morning that I'm all about landing the airplane. I'm a pilot. And you can teach anybody to take an airplane off, in a few minutes. If any of you have ever been a pilot or known a pilot, this is something I could teach anybody in this room in a few minutes. It's very easy. And very few pilots actually screw up taking an airplane off. Landing is the hard part. And a good landing is even harder. My pilot friends say a good landing is one that you can walk away from. A great landing is one where you can use the airplane again. And I think we have that same sort of challenge in front of us in terms of our open data and open government initiatives. So the first one is M1006. It's the Open Government Initiative. I'm sure many of you in the room are familiar with that. And I think we're off to generally a good start. It started in 2009 and promotes the principles of transparency and accountability in government. And I think this is generally a good thing. And you know, what I would say is we're still probably in early days when it comes to completely understanding the impact that this will have. And we've got a lot more to go. We have an open policy data policy. You can read the slide here. I won't go through this in detail. Part of the FITARA Act, which my office is responsible for writing the rules for different government agencies, will also include guidance to CIOs in terms of how we get better at open data and making this powerful tool available to all. The notion of open by default is, I think, a core idea and core principle here. And it's not just the data, it's also the algorithms and some of the other technology that goes with it, so that people can fully embrace and use the data that the government has. We all see the end results of data every day. The government publishes a bunch of statistics, publishes the results of a bunch of studies, but sometimes you just want to know, how did they get there? How did they calculate that? How did they figure out the answer to that particular question? And so that's part and parcel of what we continue to have to do here. Now, this is a financial regulation summit, I'm told, and so certainly the SEC is, I think, a good example of great progress in this particular space. And again, I think there's a great future ahead of us. Here's an example of some of the things that they're doing that I think are to be commended. Data.gov is a place where you can go get access to a lot of information. How many of you here have used data.gov, just out of curiosity? Okay, good. That's a great showing. For those of you that haven't, raise your hand if you're willing to in this audience. Okay. I'd love to know why not from those of you that haven't, and from those of you that have, I'd love to know your experience. Part of the challenge, I think, here is the whole federal government digitizes its business processes, is improving the